Flaps. Here we go. Not flying. Not motherfucking flying. Shit. Oh, look at shit.
It is weird with no lights.
Yeah.
100 knots. Check. We want to rotate. Whoa! Fuck! Fuck! Oh.
Air travel is incredibly safe. Your odds of dying in a plane crash are 1 in 11 million. Yet when disaster strikes, the world pays attention. In those final moments, the last words from the cockpit reveal a mix of heroism, despair, and chilling acceptance. Let's delve into the haunting final messages of pilots from some of the worst aviation disasters in history. Martin Flight 495. On December 21, 1992, Martin Air Flight 495 was carrying holidaymakers eager to start their vacations, but what awaited them was anything but festive. The plane, a McDonnell Douglas DC-10, was carrying over 300 passengers, mostly eager vacationers. As the plane approached Faro Airport in Portugal, it was battered by severe thunderstorms, wind shears, and low visibility. It made the landing extremely challenging. Despite these conditions, the pilots attempted a landing, only to have it go horribly wrong. As the plane touched down, the right landing gear collapsed under the strain, causing the aircraft to break apart on the runway. The right wing tore away, igniting a fire as fuel spilled out. In an instant, 56 lives were lost, with many more injured. Investigations later revealed that a combination of factors, including unstable approach, wind shear, and the disabling of autopilot led to the crash. The pilots did their best, but the odds were stacked against them. Those final moments in the cockpit were a terrifying mix of desperation and determination. Now, listen to the haunting last moments from the cockpit, where the tension and fear are almost palpable.
Wind is 190 was 20.
Gol Transportes Aéreos Flight 1907. While the pilots of Martin Air Flight 495 knew they were in a tough spot, the crew aboard Gol Transportes Aéreos Flight 1907 had no warning of the disaster about to strike. On September 29, 2006, their Boeing 737-800 was on a routine flight over the Brazilian Amazon when the unthinkable happened. Out of nowhere, their plane collided mid-air with an Embraer Legacy 600 business jet. The impact was catastrophic. Half of the 737's left wing was sliced off. In the blink of an eye, the Boeing 737 broke apart, sending it plummeting into the dense jungle below. All 154 souls on board were lost in an instant, making it one of Brazil's worst aviation disasters. Meanwhile, the business jet, despite sustaining significant damage, managed to land safely with all 7 occupants unharmed. Investigations later revealed that a combination of air traffic control errors and the business jet crew's failure to activate their collision avoidance system set the stage for this tragedy. The pilots of Gol Flight 1907 never saw it coming, and they had no chance to react. These final moments were marked by shock and disbelief, as a normal flight turned into a nightmare in an instant. The wreckage scattered across the jungle tells a haunting tale of how quickly disaster can strike in the skies.
Brazil, November 600, X-ray Lima.
Autopilot.
What the hell is that?
Autopilot. Autopilot.
We don't have explosives.
Autopilot. Autopilot. Autopilot.
Want me to
Autopilot.
fly it yet?
Autopilot.
You want me to fly it? What, you got fucking hit? I don't know, let me fly it, you got it? Alright, you know what, declare emergency. 21.5? Yeah, 21.5. How the fuck that was? We have to get down. Go. Do we? What the fuck did he come from? Alright, we're going down. We declared emergency. Sit down.
And, November 600 X-ray Lima.
Yak Service Flight 9633. The story of Yak Service Flight 9633 is a tragedy that shook the world of sports. On September 7, 2011, a Yakovlev Yak-42 jet was carrying the entire Lokomotiv Yaroslavl ice hockey team, one of Russia's most prestigious teams, as they headed to Minsk to start a new season. But this flight would never reach its destination. From the moment the plane began its takeoff from Tunoshna Airport, things went horribly wrong. Due to poor training, incorrect speed calculations, and a tragic mistake by one of the pilots who inadvertently pressed the brakes during takeoff, the aircraft struggled to gain altitude. The plane barely lifted off, clipping an antenna mast before crashing into the Volga riverbank in a fiery explosion. Of the 45 people on board, only one survived, the aircraft's mechanic, who was left to carry the weight of this unimaginable loss. The investigation revealed a cascade of errors. The pilots lacked proper training, one had even used falsified documents to fly, and their actions in the cockpit were a deadly mix of mistakes and misjudgments. What should have been a routine takeoff turned into a catastrophic failure, leaving behind a devastated hockey community and a team that never got to play the season they were so eager to begin. These final moments were marked by confusion and panic, as the plane's fate was sealed long before it left the ground. The haunting last words captured in the cockpit. "What the hell are you doing?" Echo the desperation and tragedy of a disaster that could have been prevented. Beck Air Flight 2100. On December 27, 2019, what should have been a routine flight for Beck Air Flight 2100 quickly turned into a nightmare. Just moments after taking off from Almaty International Airport in Kazakhstan, the Fokker 100 aircraft began to struggle. The plane's tail struck the runway twice before it veered sharply to the right, crashing into a nearby two-story building. In an instant, 13 lives were lost, and many others were left injured, some critically. The investigation revealed that ice on the wings was the primary cause of this tragic accident. The freezing temperatures that morning caused ice to accumulate on the aircraft while it was on the ground, but the crew failed to thoroughly inspect the wings before takeoff. As the plane ascended, the ice disrupted the airflow over the wings, causing a catastrophic loss of lift. The aircraft stalled and plunged back to the ground, unable to recover. Survivors recalled the terrifying moments as the plane shook violently, its wings covered in ice. One survivor described the plane as swinging like a boat, a chilling sign that something was horribly wrong. Despite the crew's efforts, there was little they could do to prevent the inevitable crash. The aftermath was devastating. The front of the plane broke away from the fuselage, and the tail section was ripped off on impact. The crash highlighted serious lapses in safety protocols, including the failure to properly de-ice the aircraft and inadequate safety management by the airline. This tragic event serves as a sobering reminder of the critical importance of thorough pre-flight inspections, especially in harsh weather conditions.
Bank angle, bank angle.
Надо! Что ты делаешь? Поехали! Шли, шли! Убирай шасси! Убирай все! Ну, твою мать!
Turkish Airlines Flight 981. Turkish Airlines Flight 981 is one of aviation's darkest moments, made even more tragic because it could have been avoided. On March 3, 1974, what was supposed to be a routine flight from Paris to London turned catastrophic just minutes after takeoff. The plane, a McDonnell Douglas DC-10, was cruising along when an improperly secured cargo door suddenly burst open. This triggered an explosive decompression, ripping through the plane's fuselage and severing critical control cables. With the pilots unable to control the aircraft, the plane plunged toward the ground, spiraling out of control. In those terrifying final moments, the crew fought desperately, but there was nothing they could do. The plane crashed into the Armenonville forest near Paris, killing all 346 people on board. It remains one of the deadliest single aircraft disasters in history. What makes this tragedy even more haunting is that the design flaw in the cargo door was known before the crash. A similar incident had occurred 2 years earlier, but the problem wasn't fully corrected. The crash of Flight 981 was a devastating reminder of the cost of oversight and neglect. Now, listen to the chilling last moments from the cockpit, where the gravity of the situation unfolds in real time. Dan Air Flight 1008. While Turkish Airlines Flight 981 met its fate due to a design flaw, the tragedy of Dan Air Flight 1008 was a stark reminder of the dangers of human error. On April 25, 1980, a Boeing 727 was flying from Manchester to Tenerife when a series of miscommunications and poor decisions led to disaster. As the plane neared its destination, the crew was instructed to follow a holding pattern over Tenerife's Mount La Esperanza. The problem? This holding pattern wasn't published, and the crew didn't have a chart for it. Despite this, they proceeded, unknowingly flying into dangerous terrain. As the aircraft descended, it entered an area of high ground, far below the safe altitude. The ground proximity warning system blurred, and the crew tried to pull up, but it was too late. The plane collided with Mount La Esperanza, killing all 146 people on board. The investigation later revealed that the combination of the pilot's misjudgment and unclear air traffic control instructions led the aircraft directly into the mountain. This tragedy, rooted in confusion and poor communication, serves as a powerful reminder of how quickly things can go wrong when key details are overlooked. Aeroflot Flight 9981. When you're thousands of feet in the air, coordination among the flight crew is not just important, it's critical. Aeroflot Flight 9981 tragically demonstrated this on October 8, 1996. The AN 124 cargo plane was empty, heading to Italy to pick up a shipment of luxury cars. But what should have been a routine landing at Caselle Airport turned into a disaster. As the plane approached the runway, the crew was warned about ongoing resurfacing work and the shortened runway length. Despite these warnings, their approach was poorly coordinated. The cockpit voice recorder captured a scene of confusion and panic as the crew struggled with last-minute decisions. The captain, who had limited experience on this type of aircraft, decided to abort the landing when the plane was just 50 feet above the runway, a decision that came far too late. In the chaos, the plane scraped trees and struck houses in the small town of San Francesco al Campo, just north of the runway. The impact was devastating, causing widespread destruction and loss of life on the ground. The investigation revealed that poor crew coordination, inadequate training, and a failure to properly plan for a missed approach all contributed to the crash. The tragic outcome was a sobering reminder of how crucial it is for flight crews to work seamlessly together, especially when things go wrong.
240. Нет, давай, уход на второй круг. Зачем уход? 20. Нет, малый газ. Уход на второй круг, смотри. 10. 8. 6. Нет, давай уход на второй круг. Полоса вон там. Полоса там вон. Конец полосы, види? Так, реверс неисправный. Уход на второй круг. Реверс неисправный, говорит. Хорошо. Скорость. Скорость падает. Нормально все. Скорость. Хватит дергать. Режим давайте. Режим давайте. Скорость падает. Нормально все. Выходит. Скорость. Режим держи. Режим. Режим. Все. Скорость падает.
Bergen Flight 301, February 6, 1996, was a clear night in the Dominican Republic as Bergen Flight 301 lifted off from Puerto Plata. But within minutes, what began as a smooth ascent turned into a catastrophic nightmare. Unbeknownst to the crew, a pitot tube, the instrument crucial for measuring airspeed, was blocked, likely by a wasp nest. This caused the captain's airspeed indicator to give dangerously false readings. Believing the plane was speeding uncontrollably, the captain made a fateful decision to cut the engine's power. But instead of slowing down, the plane stalled, losing lift and spiraling into the ocean below. All 189 people aboard perished in the crash, marking one of the deadliest aviation disasters in the Dominican Republic. The investigation revealed a series of tragic errors. The blocked pitot tube confused the crew with contradictory warnings, and in their disoriented state, they failed to follow the correct procedures to recover from the stall. The situation quickly spiraled out of control, leading to a tragic and avoidable disaster. The final moments in the cockpit were filled with confusion and panic as the crew struggled to understand what was happening. Listen to the chilling recordings where you can hear the desperation as they try to regain control, but the odds were stacked against them. Comair Flight 5191. In the pre-dawn hours of August 27, 2006, Comair Flight 5191 was set to depart from Lexington, Kentucky, bound for Atlanta. But a critical mistake turned this morning flight into a disaster. The pilots mistakenly lined up on the wrong runway, runway 26, instead of the assigned runway 22. The problem? Runway 26 was far too short for a safe takeoff. As the plane sped down the runway, the crew realized too late that something was wrong. By the time they understood the situation, there was no room left to abort. The plane overshot the runway, crashing just beyond its end, breaking apart and bursting into flames. Tragically, 49 of the 50 people on board lost their lives. The only survivor was the first officer, left with the weight of surviving such a devastating crash. The investigation revealed that the crew's failure to recognize they were on the wrong runway, combined with distractions and non-essential conversations during taxi, contributed to the accident. The misjudgment led to a tragic outcome that could have been avoided with more careful attention. Small mistakes can lead to catastrophic consequences when flying. Let's peek into the cockpit voice recording, understand what was happening in those final moments.
Flight 882, contact 87-126.37, cadet. 28-637. Transponders on, backs on, bleeds closed, clear for takeoff, runway heading. 6 good. Alright. NSL flight set, takeoff things okay, line track squeeze. All yours, Jim. My brakes, my control. Doors, please. Gotcha. It is weird with no lights. Yeah. 100 knots. Checks. P1, rotate. Whoa! Fuck! Fuck! Oh!
Air Florida Flight 90. On January 13, 1982, Air Florida Flight 90 faced a deadly combination of icy conditions and critical mistakes. As the Boeing 737 prepared for takeoff from Washington National Airport, freezing weather had already covered the plane in ice and snow. The first officer noticed the instrument readings were off, but the captain dismissed his concerns. Believing they could still take off safely, the crew pushed forward, but the aircraft struggled to gain altitude. Moments later, it stalled and crashed into the icy Potomac River after striking the 14th Street Bridge. The impact was catastrophic, killing 74 passengers, 4 motorists on the bridge, and all but 1 crew member. Only 5 people survived the crash, pulled from the freezing river by heroic rescuers. The investigation revealed a series of errors. The crew had failed to activate the plane's anti-ice system, relied on the jet exhaust of another plane to melt the ice on their wings, and ignored critical signs that something was wrong. The haunting conversation in the cockpit captures the tragic missteps that led to this disaster.
This is a loose background trying to guide you. That gives you a false feeling of security, that's all this is. That's tight with that. I'll pull it back to about 1.55, close to about 1.6. Still got scared to go. Let it go, sir. Yeah, real cold, real cold. Sleep right there. That's about right. Yes, it is. I don't think that's right. I think it is. All right, 20. Forward, forward. We only want 500. Come on, forward. Forward. This is the early climb. Come on, we're going down, man. I know.
Swissair Flight 330. On February 21, 1970, Swissair Flight 330 took off from Zurich, bound for Hong Kong with a stopover in Tel Aviv. But just minutes into the flight, a bomb planted by members of the PLO exploded in the cargo hold. The explosion filled the cabin with smoke, and the pilots immediately tried to turn the plane back to Zurich. However, the situation quickly spiraled out of control as the smoke made it nearly impossible to see the instruments. They desperately tried, but failed to regain control. Shortly after, the plane crashed into a wooded area near Würenlingen, Switzerland, killing all 47 people on board. The investigation confirmed that the bomb was planted as an act of revenge, likely in response to the imprisonment of 3 Palestinians in Switzerland. The tragedy was one of 2 similar attacks that day, the other being an Austrian Airlines flight that managed to land safely after a bomb exploded on board. The crew's last words, "Goodbye everybody," echoed with heartbreaking finality. The tone of their voices conveyed the chilling realization that they were about to die, a moment filled with unimaginable sadness and pain.
30. We have trouble with the cabin compression. We have to return to Zurich.
Roger, what is your actual level?
140, request reverse course.
Roger, then make a right turn, Swissair 330.
Zurich from Swissair 330. We suspect an explosion in the aft compartment of the aircraft. Everything is okay at the moment, but we request descent clearance immediately and firefighting equipment on the ground for landing.
Swissair 330, say again, please.
We also request the police to investigate the incident. Zurich, Swissair 330, we have fire on board. Request an immediate landing. This is an emergency, Zurich, from 330.
338, you have electrical power. CG 330, go ahead. Swissair 330, Swissair 330. I cannot read you anymore. I cannot read you anymore. Please continue heading 330. Swissair 330. You're fully off track now.
330, can you give me my position about?
We are passing Baden. And stop your turn now.
Possible.
Roger 330. What is your heading you're going through now?
Turn left emergency. We have smoke around bird. I can't see anything. 330 is crashing. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.
Swisher 330, heading 080, please. Swisher 330, please open the window. Swisher 330, open your window, please. 330, I cannot read you anymore.
United Airlines Flight 232. United Airlines Flight 232 encountered disaster on July 19, 1989, when a catastrophic failure in the DC-10's tail engine left the crew with no flight controls, a situation that would typically spell doom. But what followed was nothing short of miraculous. Captain Al Haynes and his crew, using nothing but differential thrust and sheer determination, managed to guide the crippled plane towards Sioux Gateway Airport. The result was an impossible landing, a feat so extraordinary it's hailed as one of the most impressive in aviation history. Despite the tragic loss of 112 lives, 184 people survived, an outcome that seemed unimaginable given the circumstances. In a world where human error often causes crashes, this incident stands as a testament to human skill and courage, showcasing how, even in the face of overwhelming odds, expert pilots can pull off the seemingly impossible. Listen to this CVR and the hairs on your arms will stand up. The calmness, presence of mind, and sheer determination in the voices of the crew are just amazing. Even the response from the flight attendant when told that they might not be standing at the end of it is commendable. Northwest Airlines Flight 255. On the evening of August 16, 1987, Northwest Airlines Flight 255 took off from Detroit Metropolitan Airport, destined for Phoenix, but just moments after takeoff, the flight turned into a horror story. The McDonnell Douglas MD-82 struggled to gain altitude, clipping a light pole before crashing onto a nearby road. The impact was catastrophic, igniting a fiery explosion that claimed the lives of all 6 crew members and 148 of the 149 passengers, along with 2 people on the ground. Miraculously, a 4-year-old girl was the sole survivor, found amidst the wreckage, badly injured but alive. In those terrifying final moments, the captain's haunting words echoed through the cabin, "I'm sorry, we are going to crash." One can only imagine the fear and helplessness that gripped the passengers as they braced for the inevitable, their last thoughts a heartbreaking blend of disbelief and despair. Pulkovo Aviation Enterprise Flight 612. On August 22, 2006, Pulkovo Aviation Enterprise Flight 612 departed from Anapa, Russia, heading for St. Petersburg. About 30 minutes into the flight, the aircraft encountered a fierce thunderstorm, and what followed was nothing short of a nightmare. The crew attempted to climb above the storm, but instead, they found themselves in a deadly deep stall. The situation quickly spiraled out of control. The plane's angle of attack became extreme, and the aircraft lost all forward airspeed. As the Tu-154 plummeted from 39,000 feet, the cockpit filled with panic. Amidst the chaos, a trainee's heartbreaking plea echoed, "I don't want to die." In those final moments, one crew member managed to utter the words, "I love you, Mom," a chilling sign of the impending tragedy. Seconds later, the plane crashed near Donetsk, Ukraine, killing all 170 people on board. The crash was witnessed by locals, who saw the aircraft fall from the sky and burst into flames upon impact. The investigation revealed that the crew's lack of training for such extreme conditions contributed to the disaster. Their attempt to escape the storm led them into a situation they couldn't recover from, resulting in one of the deadliest aviation accidents of 2006. Delta Airlines Flight 1141. On August 31st, 1988, Delta Airlines Flight 1141 was preparing for takeoff from Dallas-Fort Worth, bound for Salt Lake City. As the crew waited for clearance, they joked about getting the flight attendants' dating habits recorded on the cockpit voice recorder, imagining it would give the media something juicy to talk about, just in case they crashed. Little did they know, that offhand remark would soon become chillingly real. Moments after takeoff, the Boeing 727 struggled to gain altitude, violently rolling as it left the ground. The plane's right wing struck the runway, igniting a fire that rapidly spread. In just 22 seconds, the aircraft crashed, killing 14 of the 108 people on board. The investigation later revealed that the crew had failed to properly set the flaps and slats for takeoff, a critical error that could have been avoided. The cockpit voice recorder captured their casual conversation just before the disaster, a stark reminder of how quickly things can go wrong when focus is lost. What started as light-hearted banter ended in a devastating tragedy, leaving behind a haunting legacy of the importance of discipline and vigilance in the cockpit. Alaska Airlines Flight 261. On January 31st, 2000, Alaska Airlines Flight 261 was cruising at 31,000 feet, en route from Puerto Vallarta to Seattle. Everything seemed normal until the crew discovered a critical issue, a jammed horizontal stabilizer. This small but vital part helps keep the plane stable in flight. As the pilots tried to fix the problem, the situation took a terrifying turn. The stabilizer suddenly freed itself, but then jammed again, this time in a catastrophic nose-down position, sending the plane into a steep dive. The pilots fought valiantly to regain control, even attempting to flip the aircraft upside down in a desperate bid to stabilize it. The cockpit voice recorder captured their intense struggle, filled with determination and desperation. Despite their heroic efforts, the situation was beyond saving. The plane plummeted into the Pacific Ocean, killing all 88 people on board. The crash was a direct result of inadequate maintenance that led to the failure of a critical flight control system. In their final moments, the crew showed remarkable courage, but it wasn't enough to save the flight. The haunting CVR recording stands as a testament to their determination and bravery, even in the face of impossible odds.
Did you feel that? Yeah. Okay, give me slats. This is a fit. Is it? Yeah. Mayday! Speed brake. Got it. Here we go!
TAM Airlines Flight 3054. On the evening of July 17, 2007, TAM Airlines Flight 3054 was on approach to São Paulo's Congonhas Airport, a landing that should have been routine. But as the Airbus A320 touched down on the rain-slicked runway, things took a deadly turn. The runway, recently resurfaced but lacking critical water channeling grooves, became a trap. The aircraft failed to decelerate, skidding at high speed plowed off the runway's end. It rushed across a busy avenue and slammed into a nearby warehouse, igniting a massive explosion that claimed the lives of all 187 passengers and crew on board, as well as 12 people on the ground. Investigators later determined that pilot errors during landing played a significant role in the disaster. The plane's thrust levers were not correctly set, preventing the automatic deployment of the spoilers, critical for slowing down the aircraft. The pilots, likely unaware of the misconfiguration, were unable to regain control as the right engine continued to produce full power while the left thrust reverser activated, leading to a catastrophic loss of control. This horrific event stands as Brazil's worst aviation disaster. A combination of environmental conditions and human error lead to an unimaginable tragedy. What began as a routine landing became a nightmare. Comair Flight 3272. It was a chilly afternoon on January 9, 1997, as Comair Flight 3272 approached Detroit. But what should have been a smooth descent quickly turned deadly. Just 18 miles from the airport, the Embraer EMB 120 Brasilia suddenly plunged nose down into the ground, taking the lives of all 29 people on board. The cause? Outdated and inadequate procedures for flying in icy conditions. A tragic combination of FAA oversights and flawed airline manuals left the crew unprepared for the danger lurking in the winter skies. As ice built up on the wings, the pilots were left scrambling to maintain control. Tragically, the aircraft stalled, rolling violently before crashing into a rural field in Raisonville Township, Michigan. This catastrophe highlighted serious flaws in aviation safety protocols. Had proper guidelines been in place, this disaster might have been avoided. Instead, the crew found themselves unprepared for the severe conditions, leading to a tragic and preventable loss of life.
Yeah, like your low speed indicator. Power.
Autopilot.
Bank angle.
Autopilot.
Approach 1594 Detroit approach, ready speed of 170.
Bank angle.
Holy shit! So fucking die!
Avianca Flight 52. On January 25, 1990, Avianca Flight 52, en route from Bogota to New York, faced an unimaginable tragedy. After being held in 3 separate holding patterns due to air traffic delays at JFK Airport, the Boeing 707 found itself critically low on fuel. The crew, struggling to manage the situation, failed to clearly communicate their emergency, never using the word emergency to convey the gravity of their predicament. As they attempted to land in poor weather, miscommunication between the pilots and air traffic controllers added to the chaos. Unable to complete the landing, the plane was forced to go around, but by then, it was too late. The engines lost power as the fuel ran out, and the aircraft plummeted, crashing into a hillside in Cove Neck, New York. Out of the 158 people on board, 73 survived, but 85 tragically lost their lives, including 8 crew members. The disaster highlighted serious lapses in communication protocols and air traffic management, ultimately revealing a series of preventable errors that led to one of the most tragic accidents in aviation history.
Executing a mass approach of Anchor 052 Heavy.
Avianca 052 Heavy, roger. Probably maintain 2000, turn left heading 180.
Have a maintain about 2000, 180 heading.
All right, Charlie, we're working. Avianca's in the right turn. Avianca 052, you're making the left turn, correct, sir?
That's right, to 180 on the heading, and we'll try once again. We're running out of fuel.
Okay. Okay, we got Avianca on the mist.
Yeah, got that.
Probably the 2180. American 40 Heavy.
Approach Avianca 052 Heavy, we just missed the mist approach, and we're maintaining 2000, 15.
Avianca 052 Heavy, New York, good evening, climb maintain 3000.
We're trying to maintain 3000, and we're running out of fuel, sir.
Okay, fly heading at 080.
Nice.
So,
Heading 070, Avianca 052 Heavy.
and Avianca 052 Heavy, I'm going to bring you about 15 miles northeast and then turn you back on for the approach. Is that fine with you and your fuel?
I guess so, thank you very much. Avianca 052, we just lost 2 engines and we need the priority, please.
Avianca 052, turn left heading 250, intercept the localizer.
Roger.
And Heavy, turn right heading 060.
Thanks, 060 for Flipper 11 Heavy.
Avianca 052, you have enough fuel to make it to the airport? Avianca 052, New York. Avianca 052, radar contact lost.
2002 Überlingen mid-air collision. On a quiet night over southern Germany, July 1st, 2002, 2 planes were on a collision course that no one saw coming until it was too late. Baal Bashkirian Airlines Flight 2937, a passenger jet, and DHL Flight 611, a cargo plane, found themselves at the same altitude, heading straight for each other. The pilots of both planes received conflicting instructions, one from air traffic control, the other from their onboard collision avoidance systems. The confusion led to a catastrophic mid-air collision at 34,000 feet, with DHL's vertical stabilizer tearing through the fuselage of the Bashkirian jet. Both aircraft plummeted to the ground. All 71 souls on board were lost in an instant. The crash was later blamed on a series of errors by the air traffic controller, who was stretched too thin, and by the conflicting safety systems that were supposed to prevent exactly this kind of disaster. The tragedy didn't end there though. In a heartbreaking act of revenge, the air traffic controller on duty, Peter Nilsson, was murdered 2 years later by a man who lost his family in the crash. The human toll behind this unimaginable catastrophe. The voices from the cockpit reveal stories of courage, fear, and the heavy burden of responsibility faced by those who encountered the unimaginable in the skies. These moments leave a lasting mark on aviation history, offering lessons and inspiration for those who follow to help prevent future tragedies.